I'm so excited that to talk to you, Danny, as kind of a diehard hooper, and me, who's, a casual, former diehard, but more of a casual these days, on the same page about how fun this Pacer team is. But flipping it over to the Knicks, as somebody who has never really rooted for the Knicks and for most of my life rooted against the Knicks, it's kind of the hard conversation to think, well, how do you help this team get better? This team exposed some weaknesses, and I think this team, whether it was the media hype machine or something, I think this team was sold to us as a better team than they actually are.
I can see that from a couple different perspectives, because you've got Jalen Brunson, you make
Who's super fun.
Who is, and you make the big splashy trades for not only Karl Anthony Towns, but for Mikal Bridges.
And I love Bridges' game.
Look, I mean, it's a lot of really good players, and you've got Tibbs, who, as a coach, you either love him, you hate him. There's really no in between. But they have a lot of questions now because they expended so much capital in making those moves for OG, for Mikal. They got Brunson. They were able to pay him and get him for a little bit cheaper because of his dad, really. Rick Brunson, who's on the coaching staff. And Jalen wants to be there. And, you've got the Villanova connection between him and Mikal, and Dante, who obviously is out now. But they do have some big questions to answer. Do they keep Mitchell Robinson, even though his health is always an issue? Is Karl Anthony Towns the right fit, for that, especially for that much money? And that's Keith Smith of Spotrac had this going into Game 6. If the Pacers had won, this would be the first time in the luxury tax era that two teams, the Pacers and the Thunder, are not luxury taxpayers. And what's really interesting is that this is something I've been saying for a couple months now, is that the NBA eras are kind of becoming defined by the CBA.
Without a doubt. We're seeing the turn right here.
Because you had the Big Three era before that. You had the early luxury tax era where teams were spending, but not like a little. Then you had the late teens era, the 20 teens, where you just spent out of your gourd, like the Warriors with that $500 million tax bill.
And you trade assets, but it was all down the line. You just didn't care. It
somebody
was
else's problem.
Debt on debt on debt kind of thing.
You're just like, it's somebody else's
Steph's
problem.
going to retire in 10 years, but we're going to get 4 championships out of then, and that team can deal with it then.
Yeah,
it's almost like Shohei and the Dodgers. It's like, we got to pay him $800 million, but we'll deal with that in 10 years.
That's fine. We'll now you have to be a lot more prudent. And the Knicks are a team historically that haven't spent, even though James Dolan's worth billions, they haven't really spent a ton here or there. They haven't been the cheapest team in the league, but they have kind of waffled. And you talk about the complications of the new CBA with the aprons and how they can impact your team building. The Knicks have a lot of decisions to make. They have to figure out their depth. They have to figure out Mikal Bridges' extension, which you would imagine when they make that trade for him and Jalen Brunson takes a little bit of discount, that's already
you have to think
pre-work.
And they're probably talking about that too.
Yes, but you have to look at Karl Anthony Towns because he's so expensive and his volatility. He can be
look
very.
Look at you being nice.
Look,
look at you being nice on the big guy.
He's a good player.
He's a great player.
He's a very good player, but you're already dealing with one player in Jalen Brunson who has flaws that you have to overcome. And it's it's very interesting. The 4 finalists in the conference finals were all guard driven.
That's been the kind of narrative we've been talking about for the last couple weeks.
Kind of weird.
It's kind of old school a little.
It is, but you're kind of like, okay, is this a flash in the pan, or has ball handling and creation and playmaking pop back up as far it's like in the NFL where the running game is coming back more around. You're maybe seeing the viability of creative guards being more intrinsic and more important in the things that you value.
Look around some of the other teams that aren't quite there. Who's the best player on Detroit? A guard.
Yeah.
Who's the best player on the Lakers? A guard.
Both big guards.
But they're guards.
But that's the thing is, even though Cade and Luka, obviously Luka's defense was complete cheeks, and he's hopefully getting it together. As much as I hate the Lakers, I love Luka. So
there's no reason not to root for him.
And dude, get in shape and go become an all-timer, please. You're incredible. Please don't.
I would like to tell my children I watched you play basketball.
Yes, and not that you gave it up after 12 years because you just couldn't stay in shape.
I love cheeseburgers and beer.
Yeah, right. Who doesn't, right? I'm not faulting the guy, but this is the job.
I'm gonna drink so much beer today.
Oh yeah, that's what Vegas is for, buddy. But you take a look at kind of what the Knicks are. They have to kind of overcome Jalen's inefficiencies already, and they've supported that by getting 2 of the best perimeter defenders in the league, Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby. That's how you do that. But Cat is interior defense. Now you've got
Does not exist.
It's a perimeter liability and an interior liability. And yes, you're good on the wings. Hell, you're great on the wings. But you can't play Mitchell Robinson all the time because of his offense. Like you put your the more constraints you put on yourself at various positions, and this isn't to say the Blazers team building philosophy is perfect. It's not. But look at what they've prioritized over the last couple of years as they've reset and gone all the way through. They're quite literally the biggest team in the NBA.
Okay.
And that helps overcome a lot of inefficiencies. Now, it doesn't overcome for everything, but it gives you more margin of error. Like if you've just got a guard like Luka. Luka doesn't have to be the best defender in the world, but he's 6'8" and 275 pounds. And if you talk to any NBA player that has played against him, they will all tell you the same thing.
He's big.
He's one of the strongest dudes in the league. It's just, it's that Balkan farm strength, man. Like he, like
in my country, vodka drink you.
You know, it's one of my favorite things to talk to the young players about over the last couple of years is when they play Luka, and hilariously when they play Steven Adams. Yeah, Steven Adams is probably the strongest guy in the league.
Yeah.
And like asking Donovan Clingan, you know, who was a guy that stood out? He was on the podcast about 6 weeks ago. And I was like, who's a guy that stood out? Like, it doesn't have to be a star. He goes, Steven Adams.
Really?
He's like,
you gotta love hearing that from him.
And I was like, well, what about
him?
I
love Steven Adams.
He's
I also
great.
do a show with Joe Fisher, and he won't shut up about Steven Adams.
Look, Steven Adams is great, and he's a great team guy, great locker room guy, you know, floor riser, all that kind of stuff. But he goes, I've never in my life not been able to push somebody around. He's like, it was like trying to move a tree. And you just like these, like, even though Steven Adams is the most explosive, he's not as fleet of foot, you can't do anything with him.
Right.
And that, like, he's a solid rim protector. You can only get him for so many minutes, but like knowing that when he's on the floor, you're going to be better defensively, you're going to rebound the ball better, you're going to have a guy that's just going to do these things for you. It allows you to kind of build, not that you build around him, but you can build out with him, knowing what you have to work with is in whatever facet it is elite. Or you have something to over compensate for some other deficiency. Even though Steven Adams isn't scoring, it doesn't matter because defensively you're so much better with him on the floor.
Right. I think, you know, Joe Fisher and I were talking about this on the Hot Corner every Tuesday night from 7 to 9, wherever you get your podcasts. And Joe brought this up, and I got to give him credit for it. And he said it, and I just think it's so spot on. The Knicks make everything look so hard. Like, they are so energy, hustle driven that at times when it's not working, they look like they're just trying so hard and nothing comes natural to them. And I think that's part of it. That Cat's a liability because he only sits on the perimeter, doesn't go inside, so there's no rebound capabilities there. And Brunson is not the best shooter in the world. He's got he's got the juice, but he's not the best shooter in the world. So it's like every time I watch this team, they have to work so hard. Like nothing comes easy for them.
Look at the Pacers and look how
everything comes easy to them. And it just does it.
Yeah.
And that's why, but the flip side of that is that why I actually think Tibbs is a really good coach for this team because he is getting the absolute most out of them. I think somebody else on this would have been, they might have lost to the Celtics, even with Tatum going down.
Tibbs has his flaws and he has his shortcomings and there was this, that, or
but
the
there's
other.
no pure scorer on the team in the first place.
I mean, Brunson, yeah.
Yeah, but again, it's a north-south. It's driving down the lane.
And he's not as great a creator as a guy like Hallie. And would Hallie work on this team better? I don't know. Like, because you look at the rest of that team, they kind of need Brunson to be that guy because nobody else is a guy that can put the ball down the floor and create.
I think if Hallie is on the Knicks, I think they're asking too much of him.
Probably.
I think they want him to score 25 a night.
But that's the thing is, like, you look at the Pacers,
he doesn't have to.
They have multiple guys that can put the ball down and make a little additional creation where, again, when you're talking about the Knicks, like the things that they probably need is a little bit more creation as like, do you look to trade Karl-Anthony Towns and maybe get somebody who's not as good at that position, but you get more depth throughout your roster? You get another plus creator. You get a bench wing or a bench guard that can offer some defensive resistance that Jalen Brunson doesn't, but also gives you some offense, or you just double down on offense. Like, that's the thing. The Pacers aren't this great defensive team. We're going to see how they match up against the Thunder.
Yeah.
But offensively, they're a machine.
They're great. They're top to bottom, 1 through 5, great. I mean, 1 through 7, 1 through 8, great. Yeah, so what is it, in your opinion, that this team's got to do? Because all the talking heads are go get Durant, go get Giannis, trade Cat, blah, blah, blah.
I mean,
I don't know
Giannis
if it's
wants to
that
go to New
easy.
York,
I don't
but
know if it's that easy.
There's only so many landing spots,
Right.
For
And there's
Karl
only
Anthony
so many,
Towns.
exactly. Because Cat, if they trade Cat, dude, this is your second team in a row that it just ain't working.
But here's the other thing.
And sometimes you got to look in the mirror and it might be your fault.
It's not.
But it might not be. He might just not be in the right situation.
I think he's been good there, and I think the Randall and Cat trades have kind of worked out for both teams in some roundabout fashion. But
both disappointing.
Well, here's the thing. It's not disappointing though.
No,
the New York Knicks have made back-to-back runs. If they don't get injured last year, they're right there.
So have the T-Wolves.
But that's my point.
I think I'm stuck in recency bias because Randall had himself a rough series against,
especially the last two games. Yeah. But to your point, the Timberwolves, the Knicks, and the Pacers, the likelihood is the Thunder are going to win the finals.
Right.
Those three teams are not disappointing.
No, I think you're right. We get caught in the Anthony Edwards not showing up to the prime time, or
23.
Yeah, or the Knicks having all these challenges. But the reality is A, OKC's that good, but B, we're also just watching four teams kind of showing themselves as maybe the best four teams for a few years to come.
That's the thing is you can't
4 or 5 more years.
You can't count your chickens before they hatch.
No,
but making it to the conference finals, look, the Blazers made the one in 2019. They get swept, and yes, they had the double-digit leads. Was it 13 points or more, or up to 13 points?
But that wasn't really indicative of where they were going.
No,
that was just the ceiling.
And that's the thing is, you look at the Timberwolves, you look at the Pacers, you look at the Knicks, and you're like, well, I mean, in the East, Dame's out for at least a year.
Yeah,
Tatum's out for at least a year.
But you expect Boston to be back.
Not back though. Not without Tatum.
No, not next year. I'm talking in 2 years.
Okay, yeah.
But assuming he heals, and
you're looking at the window. If you're one of those teams, like you're hearing now that Toronto Raptors, they want to go big game hunting this offseason because they're looking at the landscape
and they're kind of going, "This is our shot."
This could be open.
It's like Jordan just retired and Akeem's licking his chops. He's like, "Let's do this."
Yeah, what's Miami doing?
Yeah.
And what's Cleveland going to do? Because Cleveland is,
are they going to deal Garland? How are they going to retool?
Yeah,
right.
And so.
You're right, dude.
I don't want to make it to the conference finals multiple years in a row is an achievement, man.
Let's not kill him for it.
Oh my God, they came up short. One team wins,
You're
man.
right. OKC could be, we'll get to the finals preview in the 2:00 hour. OKC could be this dominant team that rattles off, Warriors type titles, but that's not a for sure yet. And as great as we feel about them in this year's playoff run, you're totally right. You're looking at 5 or 6 teams with a window, and your window's now. Steph's on his way out, Durant's aging, and he'll go anywhere you send him. Yeah. Fascinating.
It's fun.
I forgot how much I love basketball.
It's fun. And here, we haven't really talked about this yet. Maybe we talk about this today, sometime this week. Everybody is preparing for a very, very explosive summer.
That's awesome. Everybody loves movement.
It's shaping up to be pretty big.
It's fantastic.
So
it's like the good part of the transfer portal because we know these guys.
Yeah,
so you can just transfer wherever you want.
Yeah, we know where you like. And that's I think we're gonna get news on Giannis in the next probably 10, 14 days.
That's awesome.
And
I can't wait.
Whether he stays or goes, and I as crazy as it sounds, I think he's gonna leave.
I think I saw one the other day that said as of yesterday, the odds of him going to Toronto were plus 4,000, and today it's down to plus 1,100.
Yeah, Whoa. I don't see Toronto.
Do people really bet on that?
Oh God, yes.
Really?
Yeah, and the problem is the newsbreakers can really alter that stuff because it's all intel based.
Right.
It's not outcome based in the sense of a game, but yeah,
Dude, that's a whole level of gambling I'm not interested in. We'll ask Buck at 3:00 if he's gambling on where players might go.
No,
that sounds like a Buckley thing.
Oh, yeah. He's also the captain of choosing correctly the first round leader at a PGA Tour event.
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah.